Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. This is a new year, a new decade, and a new beginning. We have a new look and a new sound. So we appreciate you joining us today. I'm Kevin Walder, your host, and I will be joined by guests along the way as we assemble information on how we can make this our best life, how we can create the world we live in. Welcome to the Oracle Scroll, Chapter 2. This evening we're really blessed to have Lynn Moddejonge, who is an herbalist, a healer, a teacher. Oh, she's got a big long list of things that she can do. She's also the proprietor of Moddejonge's Herbals in downtown Everett on Hewitt Avenue. So stop in and see her if you need anything at all in relation to herbs, self-care. She's very, very good at that. So Lynn is going to speak to us this evening about natural solutions to challenging times. And we're right in the middle of some challenging times. So let's see what advice Lynn can give us, and then we will definitely have time for questions and answers afterwards. So without further ado, Lynn, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here. This has been a long time coming. Kevin and I have talked about it for quite some time, and it took me a while to get on board. But I was very excited to be asked to do this, and this is kind of a topic that is close to my heart. When I was a young mother, my sisters used to tell everybody that I lived in the little house on the prairie days, and those are the skill sets that I created at that point in time, and those are the skill sets that are going to help in troubled times. Because if we don't have money, if we don't have food as available as it has been in the past, then you need to kind of figure out how you're going to do the best with what we've got. So I'm going to start out with some self-care. And so here's some herb knowledge. It is, if we feel good, we're going to be happier. We are going to present better to other people. We aren't going to be suffering from road rage or from cabin fever. And so making sure that you are feeling good and you're taking care of yourself is probably the utmost of importance. So if you are suffering from anxiety, things that you can use are cedar, chamomile, lavender, skullcap, astragalus, and ashwagandha. Now, astragalus and ashwagandha are herbs that are called adaptogens, and what they do is they help your body deal with the extra stress that it's under because you're having to homeschool, or because you're not working, or because you are working. It just keeps you better in balance. Skullcap is an anti-anxiety and also a muscle relaxer, because as you get anxious and approaching panic attack, your body starts doing this. And so by fighting both the anxiety and the muscle relaxers, or the tense muscles, you're fighting it from two sides, and that's going to be better. So last night, Kevin, I have to tell you that I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning and took skullcap so I could get back to sleep again. I woke up last night in a panic attack, 1 o'clock in the morning, because I thought I missed this class and I ghosted all of you. And it is, I have no idea what brought that on, but I was just in terrible shape. And so I messaged Kevin at 1 o'clock in the morning, apologizing that, oh my God, I didn't mean to ghost you, and went on for that. Funny thing after that was I realized that Kevin didn't call me at 6:30. And it would have made sense to me that if I didn't show, he would have called to say, hey, Lynn, what's going on? And so then I looked at my phone and saw that it actually was 1 o'clock in the morning on the 20th, and the class was today and not yesterday. And so I took the skull cap and calmed down and went back to sleep. But I don't think I've ever done that before. It was kind of funny. Lavender and cedar can be used both as an incense or as an essential oil put on the bottom of your feet. Both of them will calm you down. They help with depression as well as anxiety. And chamomile is an antispasmodic, which is a lower level cap in just helping you calm down. You can take these in teas, you can take them in capsules, you can take them in a decoction. Some of them you can use as an essential oil. The depression that people are suffering from right now goes hand in hand with the anxiety, because you feel like you've lost control. And that's the whole point of this whole exercise, is us feeling like we have no control over what is going on. The thing that you have to remember is that's not totally true. You don't have control of what the government is deciding, but you do have control on how you are going to react to it. And it is, I've been telling people since we started this whole thing, is that you have a choice. You have a choice to make this a grand adventure or to make this absolutely miserable. And when my kids were still at home and young, we lived in Arlington. And I tell stories about my family all of the time, so they know, and that's just how I talk. So we lived up in the heights above Arlington in the mountains, and every month from late fall to early spring, we would have a power outage. And in that power outage, it could last anywhere from 3 days to a week, because we were out in the sticks and nobody really cared. But I used to, when the power went out, for me, I got really excited because it was a fun time then. We would play games with board games. We would read. I read aloud to my kids until they were in high school, because we would gather around the fireplace and we'd read. And we read all kinds of books. We read A Wrinkle in Time. We read the Little House series. we read the Jack London books. And here's a parenting win. 2 years ago, one of my nieces found one of the Little House books at a garage sale in New Jersey, and she put it on Facebook. Look what I'm doing tonight, is what she did, and she had a picture of it. And my son, who was 42 years old at the time, wrote under her comment, "Great childhood memories." Now that to me was like an amazing, okay, there's my parenting win. My 42-year-old remembers those books fondly. It is, and so your options are to create those kind of memories for yourself as well as for your children. And Danielle, you're doing it with cooking, like you had said before. I know that Janelle is gardening. She has a wonderful raised bed garden at her place, and she's teaching her daughter how to garden. And these are memories that those kids are going to have for a very long time. It is, it's your choice. How do you want to deal with this? If you keep yourself busy, then the depression isn't going to be there every day. There's going to be days that you just sit down on the sofa and think, oh my God, I just can't do this another day. And I do that. I mean, I go home to an empty house. There's nobody to read stories to or play games with. And so it gets hard for me. But then I decide, okay, what can I do? And so that's when I do my Facebook Lives, and I'll create something to share with somebody, like we're doing here with the Zoom, because we're still sharing and we're still making great memories. St. John's wort, ginseng, and passion flower are also good for depression. Now, I have to caution you, though, with St. John's wort, you need to talk to somebody before you start taking it. St. John's wort is probably one of the best herbal antidepressants, but it does interact with a lot of different medications. And so you need to be talking to someone who knows to kind of just walk you through it so that you don't end up in trouble because you took something that's going to interact with one of your meds. Cypress essential oil and lang-lang essential oil helps you to release things that you can't control. it helps you let go. And and I have to tell you that both of those two are probably among my favorite of the fragrances. It is, when you're using essential oils, you put a drop on your finger and put it on the bottom of your feet. You want to put it where your arch is, because there's the fewest calluses there, and so it goes into your system faster. And the fun thing is, within a couple of minutes, you'll taste it. It'll go from your feet all the way up to your tongue, and you'll taste it, so you know it's all the way through your body and it's working. It goes through your blood system when it goes that way, and not through your digestive system. So it just works a little bit better. If you need an extra mood boost for uplifting and energy building, rose, orange, lemon, peppermint, and nettle, they all work well for you. Anytime you're making a tea with herbs for medicine, you have to steep it for 15 minutes, because if you steep it for less than that, what you end up with is the taste, but not the medicine. And so that means you can't use a microwave oven, because the microwave won't keep the water hot enough long enough. So it has to be boiled water, either on the stove or in an electric kettle. You can add honey or sugar to it if you like your tea a little bit more sweet. I caution you with the nettle, because the nettle is a stimulant, and it is, actually a friend made a tincture with nettle and alcohol for me and told me, she says, I take a teaspoon of this every morning. And I said, okay, we were the same age and about the same build. And so I took a teaspoon of it in the morning. What I forgot was she mainlines caffeine, and I don't do any caffeine at all. And consequently, I did not sleep for 2 days. And I was buzzing around the shop here like I was a bee. It was amazing. And I will tell you, it's always better to start small and add, because you can't untake anything that you've already put in your mouth. That was a real strong lesson for me. Right now, I mean, one of the reasons we're having these challenging times is because of the coronavirus. So immune building is also a good thing to do, to make sure that you stay healthy and that you're not, because when you get sick and when you get tired and you get depressed, your immune system goes down, and it makes it easier for you to get sick. So good immune building herbs are echinacea, elderberry, ginger, and lemon balm. You can put them together or you can take them separately. You only need to take one, unless you like the taste of them put together. And so I usually take elderberry and ginger together. It is just because I like it together. It is, but you want to keep your immune system strong. If you have painkillers, or if you have pain, good painkillers are echinacea, eucalyptus, wild lettuce, cayenne, black pepper, and arnica. Now, arnica, you only take the herb arnica topically. You put it on your skin. If you have the homeopathic little teeny tiny pills called Arnica montana, those you can put in your mouth. But don't, arnica will really give you liver trouble if you take the arnica herb itself in your mouth, so you don't want to do that. Black pepper is usually used as a essential oil, and it is a hot oil, so you want to diffuse it into another carrier oil. Otherwise, you're going to burn your skin. Epsom salts with any of the above herbs in a bath is a good way, if you have the opportunity to be undisturbed in your bath. It is, those are all good herbal ways to get better and to keep yourself going. Journaling and documenting your experiences is a good way, because that helps release it. You can burn it if you don't want to keep it, if it was something horrible that happened and you don't want anybody to see it, or keeping it and looking back in 10 years. Oh man, you remember that coronavirus? It is, and we stayed at home for 3 months. That is going to be a significant part of history, and it's going to be stories that are told to your children and your grandchildren. And it is, and so there again, you have the choice of what stories are you going to tell. It is, Exercising is a good thing to do. Now, I know the gyms are all closed, but getting out and walking, hugging a tree, gardening, just getting out and breathing some fresh air, those are all things that are going to help keep you motivated and healthy. Should you be taking pharmaceuticals? There's something that you need to do, and this is, I mean, in just troubling times or not troubling times, you really need to do this, and that is get an extra stock of what you need to keep yourself healthy in the line of pharmaceuticals. Now, the way that you can do that is that you call your pharmacy and you find out when is the earliest time that you can get your refill. There's usually a window of 3 to 5 days that you can pick them up. And if you pick them up at the first day, then you have 3 to 5 extra pills. And if you do that every month, within a couple of months, you'll have a good extra stash. So that if for some reason you cannot get your pharmaceuticals, whether it's because you're sick or whether it's because a tree fell down on the road and you can't get through, it's not an emergency because you've got a little bit extra. It is, it's always a good thing to have that. The other thing that you can do is do some research. If you have high blood pressure, there are herbs that will help control that. It doesn't control it as well as your high blood pressure medicine does, but it does get you going long enough to be able to go get your meds. It is, whereas if you weren't taking them, your blood pressure would be up and down and you would be having trouble with that. So any of the medicines that you take, there are herbal supplements that can be used in an emergency. So that's what you need to do, is do a little bit of research, figure it out, and then make sure you have some of that on hand just in case you need it. Or you can even plant. There are a couple of nurseries around here that sell herbal medicinal herbs, and plant it. If you plant it in a container or in your yard, then you've got an unending supply of it, and that would be a good way to do it as well. Kevin and I talked about budgeting, and basically what I told Kevin was, you know, if you haven't budgeted and you don't have a little bit of money set aside, it's a little bit late for this particular emergency. But what we can do is look at how to make the most of what you do have. So I'm planting a garden. I've already got my tomatoes and my potatoes and my corn and squash and beans planted. Next weekend, I'll be planting some more. I've got 5 raised beds. I haven't done this in like 8 years, and so my beds are in really bad shape, and so it's taken me a lot longer. But I still will have those fresh vegetables towards the end of fall. And here in the Northwest, you can actually plant a fall garden as well. And you would plant it like in August, as your summer gardens, your spring garden is emptying your garden beds. You start planting, and then you'll be able to, just before winter and before the big frosts happen, you have, again, new vegetables to add to what you're doing. So in the late summer, you can actually plant corn and beans, kale, turnips, broccoli, cabbage, and then you can put them in your basement and keep them in dark, and so you'll have them fresh. It is, winter gardening is possible if you make like a little greenhouse. So on a raised bed garden, simply putting a lid on it of like visqueen, that will attract the sun and it will help the plants grow. So again, you know, you can still grow pretty much year round here, unless we have a particularly hard winter. If you have fruit trees or berry bushes, trade with your neighbors and friends who have other kinds of fruits. I mean, you can only eat so many apples, but if you've got pears and I've got apples, hey, I am happy to share and barter with you. And that is kind of one of the things that makes it easy to survive hard times, is the building of community and helping each other out and making sure that everybody's got what they need. So that is kind of a good way to go. Learn how to preserve your fruits and vegetables. Dehydrating, freezing, canning. You can can with a water bath, which I just made jelly the other day with a water bath. That's for high acid foods like tomatoes, pickles, salsa, jellies, fruits, and pie fillings. And that's simply filling the jar and putting them in a big stock pot or canner, filling it up with water and boiling it for 5, 10, or 20 minutes, depending upon what kind of food you're putting in there. It's not hard. It's not at all scary. Now, pressure canning can be scary because you're working with a pressure cooker. And those are low acid foods: green beans, carrots, beets, and potatoes. It is, I have been doing it for years. It's, I guess, all in what you get comfortable with doing. It is, I haven't done it so much the last years because there's only me. And so I don't need as much food as I did when I had 4 children and a husband. It is, but if you have gotten, and I know some of the people here have, I've been sending you little informations when they were selling for $10 a 72-hour package of food that was freeze-dried. And for that, you can actually, if you've got canned foods, you can add the canned foods to those dehydrated meals, which makes them a little bit more tasty. It adds the water that they need. So if water is an issue, the canned water from the from your canned goods adds. So again, it's how do you, these are kind of depression ideas, and this is how they managed to live through the Depression. It is, so those are ways to grow your food and not have to worry about what is available in the grocery stores. Now with meat, you can make a whole lot more food if you put a pork chop in fried rice by cutting it up than if you have one pork chop. So if you use casseroles as your mainstay for your meals, you're going to eat better, you're going to eat longer on the meat that you have. I know that up here we still can get meat, but there's much less available than what has been in the past. It is, spices are your friend. Your body is more easily sated if the flavor is high. So if you put spices in there, you don't need to eat as much because you feel fuller. The other part to that is if you are looking to lose weight, it's the same thing. If you put a little bit of spice in your foods, it raises your metabolism rate and you eat less. So, I mean, kind of a win-win situation. Now, the other thing you want to do is save your bones. So my daughter had ham on Easter Sunday, and I went and saw her on Mother's Day, and she says, "Hey, Mom, I saved my ham bone for you." And there in her freezer was her ham bone. And she says, "Henry wanted to throw it away, but I told her, no, Mom's going to use this, and I will. I'll take it home." I made bone broth with it, and then I made beans, and the beans were really great because it was flavored with the ham. It is, so what I have in my freezer at home is I've got some freezer bags, 3 of them, one with chicken bones in it, one with beef bones, and one with pork bones. And as I eat my chicken, I'll save the bones and throw them in the freezer. And then when I have enough, I'll make bone broth. The bone broth will give you extra flavoring, but also extra nutrition. It is, you can use it to make rice. You can use it to make beans. If you don't have meat, the other thing that I've been doing lately, and my granddaughter is now doing it, which cracks me up, is I save the meat fat. So if I bake chicken, there's always a layer of fat underneath when you take the chicken out of the pan. Okay, if you save that chicken fat and put it in a mason jar, put it in your fridge, it's the same as saving bacon fat. So if you're from the South, everybody saves their bacon fat, and they use it as a flavoring for for green beans, for almost any food. Well, you can do the same with chicken fat, and you can do the same with beef fat. It is, and you can add it to your bone broth, and it gives you extra flavoring in the bone broth as well. So I try to not throw away too much stuff, because you can just keep it and recycle it into another meal. So if you have meat, potatoes, and vegetables for dinner tonight, and you end up with like I don't know, a half a cup or a quarter cup of peas left over, throw them in your freezer, and the next time you make vegetable soup, you've got the vegetables to put in it. It is, and you can put it, you don't have to have, okay, here's a bag for peas, here's a bag for carrots, here's a bag for corn. Put it all in the same thing, because you're going to put it all in the same soup pot anyway. It is, one of my daughters had a party a very long time ago now, and it was, they were first in their new house, and they had a barbecue, and I was invited. And so all of her friends were there, and we had this nice barbecue, and then everybody started getting ready to put away, clean up and put everything away. And so as everybody started moving, doing other different things, all of a sudden my daughter hollers out to everybody, stop. She says, wait a minute. And she turns around, she says, Mom, do you want the corn water? And do you want the potato water? And her friends said, you know, Molly, you could kind of give her real food. And she says, you don't understand. My mom will take the potato water home and make bread with it. And she will put the corn water in the freezer, and that will be the beginning of a vegetable-based stock that she'll make soup with. And it is, and so now that her friends, they ask me, okay, what do you want? You want the corn water? It is, but it really kind of stopped everybody. But you can go to the store and buy Swansons vegetable broth, or you can create your own. And it is, and the ones that you create has less salt in it, unless you are a heavy salter, and it is ultimately going to be more flavorful. So these are some of the ways that you can have a whole lot more food than what you thought you had. It is, and then I wanted to talk a little bit, because this is amazing to me, is the cost of buying food versus the cost of making your food. So the cost of making a loaf of bread ranges from 60 to 75 cents, depending upon how many loaves you're making and how long you have to have the oven on, and whether you're using yeast or sourdough starter. I went and bought a loaf of bread yesterday, $4.99. So I can spend 75 cents, or I can spend $5. To be honest with you, at this point in life, I'm spending the $5, because I don't eat enough bread that fresh bread stays good long enough. It will get moldy and not be good. The stuff from the grocery store lasts for 3 weeks, which should be like a little cue there. Oh my God, what are they putting in there that it's lasting for that long? But when my kids were young, they didn't have store-bought bread until they were in middle school, because we made it all the time, because it was 75 cents. And actually at that point in time, I think it was more like 50. It is, if you cook from the lowest common denominator, if you're going to cook beans, if you buy 10 pounds of beans, that's 130 servings and is 4 cents a serving. If you buy a 1 pound bag of bean, it's 14 cents a serving. If you buy a can of beans that has no flavoring in it, it's 28 cents a serving. And a can of chili, like Nally's chili, is 90 cents a serving. So today with the Instapots, you can make chili in no time. You don't have to cook it all day like I do. It is, and your choice is 4 cents a serving or 90 cents a serving. It is, rice is the same way. You can, if you buy a 50-pound bag of rice, that's 7 cents a serving. If you buy the 32-ounce, that's 24 cents a serving. If you buy minute rice, it's 37 cents a serving. And if you buy rice-a-roni, it's 40 cents a serving. When you bake or you make from the raw foods, not only are you getting better nutrition, but you're getting a whole lot better prices. And those foods will last for a very long time if you store them correctly. If you look at what is locally fresh, you're going to get better vegetables as well, because the vegetables are grown locally here. They're not spending a whole lot of time in transit, and they'll be cheaper. It is, so if you're looking at what is good for, I mean, you know, in the wintertime, the squashes are generally pretty cheap because that's when they're harvested and that's when they're ready. Potatoes are really cheap. You can get at cash and carry 50 pounds of russet potatoes for $10. And you can make anything with potatoes. You can can them, you can dehydrate them, you can freeze potatoes. If you want frozen French fries, all you have to do is cut them into French fry shapes, blanch them in hot oil, put them on a cookie sheet, and let them freeze. And then once they're all frozen, gather them up, put them in a bag, and you've got French fries that you can just throw in the oven just like you would store-bought frozen French fries. It is, and again, you know, 50 pounds of them for $10 versus $4 or $3 for a small bag. I think that if you have the time, it's very much a good way to go. So other thoughts are heat and light. Layer your clothes, close off the rooms you don't use. If your house is not weatherproof, put towels on the floor outside of the doors and windows to stop leakage. If you have old windows, you can put plastic wrap around them or hang quilts for drapes. I have a fireplace night. So every, I don't know, couple of days, every couple of weeks, I'll sit in front of my fireplace and that's what I'll use for my heat, is because that feeds my soul, the fire does, as well as heating my house. And to me, that is pretty good. Turn off your lights when you're not using them. Unplug unused electrical appliances because they still draw the electricity even if they're not plugged in. And oil lamps. Now, this is an absolute amazing thing to me. I just found this out probably about a year ago. Now, I have oil lamps because we lived in Arlington and we had no power for a lot of time. Lamp oil is expensive. It is, for like a quart, it can be up to $20, which is pretty spendy. You can use cooking oil. It doesn't have to be lamp oil. So every time I go to Costco, I buy their cheapest cooking oil that comes in a 2-pack, and it's like 2 gallons for $8. Every 2 years, I deep fry a turkey for Thanksgiving. And I save that oil because I'm not going to use it 2 years later. It is, so I save it, I strain it so there's no food particles left in it. And then I can add a little bit of essential oil so it doesn't smell like turkey in my house when I'm using the lamp oil, but it smells like whatever essential oil that I put in. So these are kind of the things that we did 30 years ago at my house, and longer ago at that, more on a citizen-wide kind of thing during the Great Depression. I'm still looking for good ideas and looking for ways to play with what I have. I made the jelly that I talked about making the other day. I made from juice that I bought at the dollar store. So it ends up being, you know, I got, for $2 in juice, I ended up with 17 half pints of jelly. Now, it took the sugar and pectin as well, but it was much cheaper because I used the jelly juice instead of fruit. I just went out and got chickens. And it's the same thing. If you peel your potatoes, you can give your chickens the potato peelings. So I will have eggs without ever having to buy any. And I have the chickens, which are fun to play with, and they taste so much better. So that's kind of what I have for you today. If anybody's got any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Go ahead, Norman.
Lynn, wonderful presentation. My God, what a fountain of information you have.
Well,
It
thank
blew
you.
me away. So just so much you should write a book.
I actually am in the process.
Wonderful. Great. All right. I bugged Kevin about doing the same thing, you know.
We've had that conversation.
Come back to the herbs. And this is kind of a personal question for you. And I'm just fascinated by the fact, how did you get so much knowledge in the herbs? What are your qualifications again?
So actually, I am a folk herbalist. I have been working with herbs for the last 40 years. I grew up with them. I've done a lot of self-study, and I've done some more formal study as well. But basically, I just am a folk herbalist that has had her hands in herbs for 40 years.
Yeah, that's basically the best kind.
Thank you.
And so I wanted you to say that because you and I were chatting a bit earlier and just sort of, got carried away there a little bit. I wanted you to emphasize that your knowledge is experience-based.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
It is.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I have a question, Lynn.
Yes.
You, about the herbs, back to them. You have a kit, I believe, in your shop.
I do.
It has the herbs. Does it have the information in it? Because you gave some really excellent information there, just
Thank you. Yes,
how to use those. Yeah.
The herbal medicine chest has 29 different herbs in it that I think cover pretty much any non-critical medical condition. It comes with a book that tells you how to make medicine. It tells you a lot about each herb. If there's a culinary application, it tells you about the culinary application. If it does tell you about the medical application, and it tells you the contraindications when not to take them. And it tells you what is the best way of delivering the medicine, whether it's topical, whether it's ingestion, that kind of thing. If there's a magical application, because I'm me, I put that magical application in there as well. And then there is also at the back, there is an index that has pretty much any medical condition and the herbs that you would take for it, so that you can go through the index and then go back and look at the herbs.
Do you usually carry those in the shop? Because I really would like to have one of those.
Basically, I have one in the shop at a time. And so if you call and tell me, I always have one. Now, I just sold the one that was in here today. And so now I have to go get more mason jars in order to put the next one together. So if you are interested, give me a call and I'll put it aside for you.
Okay.
Did you give us a phone number?
My phone number is 425-610-4458. Or you can get a hold of me through Facebook. I have a Facebook page under Moddejonge Herbals, and it tells you what's happening in the store, and it will tell you if I'm doing anything in particular.
What is the price of your kit, then?
It is $175, which is about a 20% markdown if you were to buy everything individual.
That's very good. I think that's
a lot of medicine for $175.
Thank you.
That's good. So Lynn,
I have her kit and it's amazing.
Good. So Lynn, I'm curious because I know you're keeping some shop hours right now. What are the shop hours right now? If anyone wants to stop in, are you there?
Right now, I am keeping. I'm here from noon until 5, Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay.
So we will probably be increasing that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. That's not
as
bad.
more people get out.
Right. So, okay. Anyone else have a question?
So, I just wanted to say, Lynn, great presentation first off.
Thank you.
But with regards to your frugal penny pinching things, I did use one of your tips for dinner tonight, actually. So I cut all of my veggies, I keep them all from like about a month or so in the freezer onion skins, garlic skins, carrot peels, things like that. And last night I threw it all in the crock pot with some water, and I've got some, I hate to say this, but like over a year old dried herbs in my cupboard. And I threw those in there as well. This morning I strained the broth, and tonight we had pho for dinner. So thanks to your tip, it was super easy. I would have just thrown them away personally, but it's a great tip and wonderful dinner. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
I bet the flavor was amazing too.
It really was. We had some cilantro stems in there, and it just from the jalapenos from other dishes that we've made, it was really well balanced, not salty, because the stocks at the grocery store, those suckers are salty.
Yes.
But not this, and it was wonderful. So again, thank you, Lynn, for your tips and tricks.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you.
It's good.
This was a lot of fun. I had a good time doing this. I had a good time putting it together, and then you guys made it very easy for me to stand here and talk to my computer.
Recording. Thank you, Lynn, for your presentation. We've appreciated getting all this information. Now we just have to make use of it. So yeah, you may have to come back and give us a refresher here in a month or so.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Oracle Scroll. Any questions, comments, or anything at all can be forwarded to us at theoraclescroll@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you may check kevinwalder.com for any further information on the work of your host. And we appreciate you being with us and hope you will spread the word, let your family and friends know how much fun it is to attend the Oracle Scroll. See you next time.